Hello, this is Wendy. Welcome to Living in Korea with Wendyflor. The Living in Korea series talks about the different aspects of living here in Korea. So let's talk about visa. F5 or the permanent resident visa residency is the ultimate goal of foreigners who are living here in Korea and are not married to Koreans and who would like to stay here longer on a visa where they will have more liberty, especially when it comes to work. And F5 will give you that, liberty and more rights, maybe like voting rights on a local level. Anyway, I'm getting ahead. Meet Manny, my husband. He's the best person I can talk to because he got his F5 last 2018. He had been holding this F5 for 1.5 years already, right? Okay, so but before we go to that, let's backtrack a little bit about why you came, how you came to Korea.
Way back in 2006. It's a long time ago.
Yes.
It was really my extension of the extension of my employment with a Korean company. So back in 2001, the Korean company
In the Philippines.
Which up to this day I'm associated with, they set up their first overseas subsidiary in the
So you're
Philippines.
19 years with the company, right?
Going on 19 years. That was in 2001, 2006. They asked me to join the headquarters. So since then, I'm here in Korea. Fortunately, it's still going well. So 19 years and counting.
Yes, and he was on an E7 visa.
So I was on an E7 visa when I arrived. If I remember it right, when I came in, that was like March of 2006.
March 6, 2006.
March 6, 2006.
You were on an E7 visa before you came over. You
That's
processed your ARC.
Yeah, the
but
ID.
Your ID.
So the visa on my passport already says E7. And then I had to go to the immigration office to process my ID. I think the same case for you. When you came over, your visa already on your passport was F3.
Right. Manny held his E7 visa continuously from 2006 to 2018. That's very important because...
Well, it's very important because one of the... Well, maybe the first qualifier I have to mention here is that I'm telling you guys, or at least I'm sharing to you guys my own experience, right? I don't claim to be like expert in terms of immigration rules. Knowingly, this immigration rules changes every time. I'm not so sure right now which one is still same as when I got my F5. So this is directly my own experience. Again, the qualifier is, it may or may still be valid. So one of the things that
continuously
when I apply is that you have to continuously hold the same visa for 10 years. Now, 10 years will be a critical part of our conversation, but...
Now, before we get to that, this is about acquiring. This is the qualifier among all qualifiers. This is about getting your F5 visa without the Korean language proficiency. Because we know that there are other rules based on point system where you can get the F5 visa even before you get to have the 10-year residency here. And also, even if you're here for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, if you have qualified based on the point system, you might possibly be given the F5 visa. In our case, in Manny's case, this vlog is about how he acquired the Korean permanent residency or the F5 visa without the Korean language proficiency based on these.
Right.
Primarily, the residency of 10 years holding the same visa continuously.
Continuously, yep. So for my case, I was holding an E7 visa continuously until I applied for my F5 visa, which was, I think, on my 12th year
Right.
when I did so.
Yes, we knew even before that on your 10th year, after your 10th year, you are qualified to get the F5 visa based on other documents also. But he was qualified, but we didn't because there was no plan at that time.
Yeah, I mean, there was no urgent need.
And we didn't plan to stay
We
that
didn't
long.
plan. I mean, we didn't plan to stay that long. We did hear from some of the people we knew that on your 10th year you could apply for permanent visa,
If you are holding the same
the same
visa
visa.
for
So, which I
10
did.
years
So therefore, I
continuously.
did it on my 12th year.
Yes, because by that time there were other factors like our children wanted to stay here longer to study in their current international school. Anyway, so aside from the 10-year, this is one of the requirements now. Aside from the 10-year continuous holding of the same visa E7, what are the other documents that you submitted?
All right. So this I have to remember this from memory.
Yeah, can I check the blog because I have it listed there. My blog, it's on www.wendyflor.com. Just search for permanent residency and you will see that blog post.
So for my case, I knew there were like common requirements, but also at the same time, I took it upon myself to just submit more, right? So those that are, I would say, like standard ones, they required me, of course, the application form.
Yeah, the application form, you have to get it from the Hi Korea website.
It's you could download and print it from there.
Yes, it's integrated application form, appendix paper number 34. I'll put the link below because I had been asked several times which forms because there are just so many forms in there.
So the income tax return, my employment certificate. They did ask me for my salary information about my residence. So I had to give them a copy of my contract,
House
rental
contract.
contract, but also at the same time, any like bills where you have your name and your address there. So to prove that you're actually living there. So I had that also submitted.
So in his case, he submitted a gas billing statement.
Gas bill, yeah. I think it has to be, they have to make sure that it's your name there and the address, which is the one reflected in your rental contract. The bank statement, yes. So they did ask me about the bank statement. There was no mention about how much should be there. I just, took the liberty of putting enough there. This one's very important. Letter of guarantee, from a Korean. Right now, that this one is
Could be any Korean.
could be any Korean as long as they're Korean. Now,
And at least they hold a good position, right?
No, not
Not
really,
really.
because reality is, the letter of guarantee basically says that this Korean guarantees your stay, in case you have problems, legal, for example, that, the first person that the immigration will call is this guy that, signed the guarantee letter. There's a form that also you could download in Hi Korea.
So letter of guarantee has a form.
Yes, it has a form.
All right.
It has a form, and
Okay.
it has to come from a Korean citizen who's residing in Korea.
So it's in the same page where you got your integrated application form.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put it down in the link also.
Now the other things that I submitted. Oh, well, also transcript of records, by the way. So
It has to be apostilled.
it has to be apostilled. Now the reason for that is, if you're going to be a permanent citizen, one of the things that Korea is saying is that they want you to be a worthy member of the society. So I guess
Academic records.
Academic records is important for them. I mean, it's true for Koreans, and I guess it's true as well for permanent resident. There's no requirement though in terms of
Grade.
should you only have bachelor's degree or
Ah.
master's degree. I know for the point system,
It
it
matters.
matters.
It has a point, corresponding
Yes, so I
point.
think it matters here too. So they only asked me for a transcript of records, but also at the same time, I submitted my information regarding me being a certified public accountant. So I did give them that information as well.
Yeah, because he is a registered CPA in the Philippines.
So just an added information to them.
NBI clearance.
NBI clearance. So this one actually gave me a little bit of trouble. Just because I found it to be troublesome, from the perspective of, the first time I submitted it, I didn't know that it has to be
Apostille.
apostilled or authenticated by the Korean embassy.
Embassy in the Philippines.
In the Philippines. So
but there's an update to that, because Korea and the Philippines, and there are many countries who are under the Apostille Convention. If your country is a member of the Apostille Convention, you don't need any documents to be authenticated anymore. An apostille is enough.
So at that time, I submitted one that was not authenticated by the embassy. So therefore, I had to resubmit it, and therefore I have to get another clearance, and I had to ask somebody, happened to be my brother, to process it in the Philippines, and it took some time. But that one is the NBI clearance. We call it the NBI clearance, but really it's a police clearance. Just saying that you don't have criminal record in your country of birth or residence, right? Of course, for the case of Korea, they didn't ask me for a police record in Korea. I guess it's only because they would have a way of knowing anyway, through their own records.
We have ARC and
yeah, so they did, but for my home country, they did ask.
Recommendation letters.
Well, the recommendation letter, I can't remember if it was really
a requirement.
By the way, when I say about requirement, it's really very hard to find like
a listing
of the source. So I had to call the immigration center.
Is that 1345?
1345, yeah.
Immigration.
So I called them several times, in fact, just to make sure that I got them right.
But sometimes 1345 has different. They vary. Their answers vary as well.
So I guess there are those that are typical requirements. I mentioned a while ago, NBI clearance, of course, the application form, the transcript of records, guarantee letter from a Korean.
So we have to be clear about that.
The bank statements,
salary statement,
right.
certificate of employment,
a proof of resident, this sort of stuff. Other things like the recommendation letter, my certification as a certified public accountant. Those things I volunteered to provide. I also volunteered to provide a printout of my detailed bank information for the last 3 months, just to give them maybe insights on the regularity of my financial capacity. Or salary. In terms of recommendation, they didn't tell me that I have to submit it. I took it upon myself to get recommendation from 5 individuals. I think being here for quite a bit, I knew some individuals who are in good positions in certain companies, so I did try to get a recommendation letter from them. I didn't tell them what to put in the recommendation letter. I think it's assumed anyway that they have to put something positive. Some of the guys put there that that they could vouch that I'm helping the Korean economy because I'm doing global business for the company, and thus I'm bringing business, from outside to inside Korea. There were some that they just vouch that they think I will be a good member of the society because I've been following the rules, those kind of stuff. That I will not be a burden to the economy because I'm gainfully employed in a reputable organization. So it could just to emphasize, I didn't give them a format of what they should put. It's a free format recommendation letter.
Yeah, so to be clear about it, the letter of guarantee has a format which you can download from the Hi Korea website. The recommendation letter does not have a format.
It's a free form.
Yes, and there is no required number of recommendation letters.
Right, right. So,
And 230,000.
and 230,000. About the Korean proficiency, I was not required to submit any proof of my proficiency. I did clarify it when I submitted it. Truth be told, the first officer that talked to me wasn't even really sure as well if I needed it. He had to confirm it with a supervisor, and turned out that indeed, because of the number of years I've been staying, that they were not requiring it. I do have to note though that again, there's no absolute rule on that. Even what I submitted. So, for example, like the financial capability proof, right? There's a certain requirement that says that your annual income should be at least twice the GNI.
What's GNI?
A gross national index, I guess. So per capita income of a Korean citizen.
So it should be twice that of a Korean citizen.
Twice of the GNI. So again, abundance of caution. I just gave them all the financial information.
So there's really no strict guideline as to how much you need to have or how much you need to earn.
There's none.
Yeah. But definitely, it's easy to assume that it's safe to assume
the more that you have, the
better.
The more that you have, I think the better. I think when you are submitting documents, as a rule of thumb, I think it's good to know that if you could provide more, go ahead. Just like what I did. They asked me for salary information or financial information. I gave them a salary information. I gave them my income tax return. I gave them my bank information. They asked for a letter of guarantee. I gave them as well recommendation from 5. They didn't say 1, 2, or 3. I gave them 5. They asked for a transcript of records for your school. I gave them more. I gave them also my certification as a certified public accountant. So I think, because for me, when I was submitting it, my thought around it is that this is a very subjective process, right?
Yes, especially because the rule on the 10-year continuous visa acquiring without Korean proficiency does not follow any point system.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very, very subjective.
So I would say, there may be one aspect of the application that you may have probably not good at. So let's say, for example, you only have a bachelor's degree, you don't have a doctorate degree, but then again, you have a very good salary information. Maybe it could be, it will be weighed. So it's a subjective process. So the more that you could give, I think that will be a good approach.
Yeah. So, but let's clear this out, because there were some, when this blog article was posted before, there was a comment that you actually know how to speak Korean, and we are just letting it be known that you don't need Korean proficiency. Yeah. But do you actually really know how to speak Korean?
Chokoman.
Chokoman.
I don't know. I don't know how to speak
business Korean.
Business Korean. I could survive. I was actually, this is another point. I was actually waiting whether they would call me for an interview, because I've heard that sometimes they do request for an interview. And I was waiting. By the way, I was waiting for a good 6 months before I got an information that I got approved for an F5. So within that time, I was waiting whether they will call me. They never called to check any of the documentations that I submitted. They never interviewed me in terms of why I want to be
F5?
an F5, all those stuff. So, although again, I've heard others,
there was no one-on-one interview.
Others were requested for an interview. I was not requested for an interview.
when you get to have a Korean language test, is it safe to say you will not survive? You will not pass?
No, I won't be able to pass.
Right. So there, because as he has mentioned, he is with the global business of the company, so he does not really do business here in Korea. He's mostly out of the country. These days, I'm so lucky. We are so lucky because we get to have him in the house for a good 4 months, 5 months already. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not proud of not
Yes,
not
yes,
learning
yes.
Korean. I mean,
If you
again,
can, why not? Go
again,
ahead,
if you
please
can,
do.
go ahead. If you have the capability and the time, go ahead and learn Korean. If I could turn back time, by the way, I would probably have learned Korean when I was still much younger. So
Yeah. So, can we go ahead with some of the questions in the vlog?
sure,
How long did you wait for the result after applying F5 visa? So you
6 months,
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah. So another one from Donna. An F5 visa, it can be Korean passport holder or not. I guess she's asking if you can be a Korean citizen. No, this is not
Well,
equivalent to Korean
yeah,
citizenship.
yeah, no. F5 is permanent residency. So I am not a Korean citizen. I don't have all the rights of a Korean citizen. A couple of difference though is number one, you could transfer a company without
Being dependent on your
being
current.
dependent on your current employer.
Because E7 is dependent on
Yes,
your
so my
employer.
sponsor is my employer. So if I have to transfer a company, if I'm on my last visa like E7, I have to if I remember it correctly, I have to get clearance from the company and exit the country before I get employed in Korea. With F5, you don't you do away with those complexity of going to another company. I could also vote local election,
But not national
not national
elections.
election. I think that one is only afforded for Korean citizen.
It goes without saying that you can do business as well
Yes,
because
yes, you could do business. Although even if you're not F5, I think you could also do
there's
business.
another like the D
Yeah,
something, the
right,
business,
right.
but it requires another. That's an even bigger amount
Yeah,
to,
and
to be
then
an investor. That's a different
and I
visa.
think well, for example, I remember when I was in E7 visa, I'm only allowed to have one phone under my name. And then when I turned to F5, now I could get my wife a phone as well
Oh
under my
yeah?
name. Yeah, so I think those are but I think the big one would be you could transfer to another company without
Yeah, I guess
fully being
for
dependent on your current employer.
most foreigners who would want to be freely transferring from one company to another, an F5 visa is good for them.
And the other benefit, which I think was the one that I really was more excited on, is that I didn't have to renew my visa anymore every year. I did hear though that I have to show up every 10 years at the immigration
Yeah.
office, which is again a new rule. I don't know, maybe it would change before that ten years happened.
Yeah, and also in terms of the dependents, the spouse and the dependents, the children of the F5 visa holder has to apply for F2, the long-term resident visa. So I used to be F3. I had to apply for F2, so I'm now a long-term resident visa holder as well.
So when I got my F5 visa, in the view of the immigration, my wife and my kids is no longer sponsored by my E7 visa,
Right.
and therefore they have to change their visa again to F2.
Two.
And that's another application process that we had to go through.
Yeah, so the good thing about my F2 is I could work.
Right, right.
There's another one. Is 10 years the same visa, E7 in your case, the minimum requirement to get the F5? Do you think being on the same visa 5 to 10 years would be enough? This is all great info since I've also been in Korea for a while now and don't see myself changing my lifestyle anytime soon. Thanks for the very informative post.
So I know there are different routes for a permanent residency. For my case, again, because I stayed more than 10 years, I was able to apply without being required for a Korean proficiency. Again, at that time when I applied, they didn't require it.
Yeah.
Later on, it may change, but at the time, it was the case.
Yeah, so the 10-year minimum residency requirement on the same visa was a requirement when you get the F5 without Korean proficiency. The between 5 to 10 years, I know you can get the
Point system, I
Korean
think. Yeah.
F5 through the point system. Okay, and then another one, great info. I'm surprised there wasn't a monetary requirement for this. I thought I heard you need 100 million Korean, is it million?
Yeah.
Korean won in the bank or something like that. I've lived in Korea for almost 10 years but have had multiple visas. Glad to know this is an option enough. Well, being in a multiple visa is not be counted in your favor
Right,
if you
right.
want it without, if you want to go the route of getting an F5 without Korean proficiency. But when it comes to monetary requirement,
Well, monetary requirement,
definitely.
so just to be very clear, I submitted
Bank
like at least
statement.
three documents that are, I think, connected to each other. So if the immigration will probably have to look at it all. Number one is the income tax return.
Mm-hmm.
So your income tax would essentially show there exactly what you're earning for the whole year. And then the second one is the salary information, which is exactly what I'm getting on a regular basis from my employer. And then the third one is the bank information, right? Now, the reason why I mentioned this is because there could be a possibility that you don't have enough cash in your bank account, but then again they could see that in your income tax return you're actually earning on an annual basis a certain amount, right? So there's really no hard and fast rule in terms of how much should be in the bank. I do have to mention though that when I submitted it, I had to make sure that at least I had at least 50 million in my bank account. Was it a requirement? No, I wasn't told. It was more of an arbitrary amount that I decided on myself. But again, I submitted multiple financial information.
Yeah, another one. This is really good to know. Personally, I am trying to take the F-2 route because I just find it easier to get enough points with the language skill. Oh yeah, that's really good if you know how to speak Korean. And it is advisable that you have to learn to speak Korean. So don't follow us. Another one. I'm sure this is super useful for anyone who has stayed here 10 years and wants to get a stable visa. That's quite a long time to have lived here. Yes, we didn't plan on living here this long, but we did. We are here. And there are other people who are living here the same length as us, even longer. Hi, Wendy. This is an excellent initiative from your end for initiating this blog, which will benefit all foreigners seeking F5 visa. Can you please send me formats for letter of guarantee? I'll put in the link below. Recommendation letters. Again, as my husband said, there is no format for a recommendation letter. This will help me to prepare the documents with confidence. Regarding transcript of records, all documents such as educational and experience certificates in English will be okay to submit.
Yes, I submitted all my information except maybe the income tax return.
Because that's Korean.
Yeah,
But those documents that are not coming from here, that will be coming from our
English.
country in
English is
English, is
fine.
okay. It should be. Another one. I heard that personal interviews happen for F5 visa. Was there any personal interview for your husband, you?
I was waiting for it. I was ready if they did ask me, but they never did. I can only assume that the documentary review was enough for them to approve my application. But if for your case or for anybody's case, it may or may not happen.
Another one, I am in Korea right now with F2-7 visa. I am planning to apply F5 visa. As you said, PCC or police clearance certificate is necessary. Do I need to take it from home country or PCC from my country consulate in Korea? Apostille from home country will work.
Yes, you have to get it from your home country.
At the latest, because of the Apostille Convention, we don't need authentication of documents anymore. You just need to have these documents apostilled from your home country if your country is signatory to the Apostille Convention. Congratulations! I wanted to know how long did you wait for the result after applying? You answered that
Around
already.
6 months. Could be shorter, but at the time it was I think Pyeongchang Olympics, so this probably
Right,
took
right,
longer.
right.
But it could be shorter, could be longer too. But I got mine 6 months.
Hi Wendy, it is very happy to see your post about the foreigner obtaining F5 without Korean proficiency. By the way, I would like to know that from whom do I have to get the recommendation letter so that I can be able to pursue the person to get it.
Anybody could be.
But make sure that he has
well,
maybe a position.
I don't know. I mean, anybody could be. I got mine.
We're not talking about letter of guarantee, okay? But because that one
Yeah, I
is
mean,
anybody,
so
as long as Korean.
so I guess it's good to assume that if they're in a good position, well respected in the society. By the way, when I say good position, well respected, I'm not talking only about corporate, right? If you're in the academe, your professor would be a good one. If you're in a non-profit organization, somebody who are you working with in the non-profit would be a good one as well. Could be anybody, really. So I think the more, the better. So the more they know you, also is the better.
Yeah. All right. Salamat sa useful information regarding sa F5. We are also E7, F3. My husband can't speak good Korean. My salary required ba sa pag-apply ng F5 visa?
Yes. Rule of thumb, 2 times at least double the GNI or the per capita in Korea. So, so again, I'm not sure if it's an absolute rule. Maybe they have to check your other records, but for what I know, it's that one.
So those are the questions that I have so far. If you have other questions, just comment on the comment section, and then we'll try to answer it. For F3 visa, because I used to be F3, going to F2 visa, I'll make another blog post, a video about that. So wait for that. I'll do it soonest. Thank you.
All right.
Cheers. You don't have your wine anymore. You're done? All right.